video is actually an extension of the previous video that you have actually seen, but this video is mainly for helping you to identify. Say you have this Gantt chart created. Now how can you identify the critical path in it, right? So that is our whole target of doing this, right? So whole idea of doing this is, we need to find out the critical path. So as you all know, critical path is that path which takes the longest hours, right? Say we will just go through this example once again. Say you have multiple tasks in your process. So say, just imagine that if you want to identify the critical path, how will you do that? Say you have, so there are different alternatives for finding out the solution. So you can go for task A to B to C to D and then complete to I. And another one would be A, B, C, E and I. Another one would be A, B, C, F, G, I. Another one would be A, B, C, F, H, I. So these are all the various paths where you can actually complete. These are all the different paths which you have. Even though you have 9 primitive tasks, you have 4 different sequences where you could actually complete, right? And so how will you calculate the duration? You will calculate the duration. Say if we take this particular path which is in red, so it is 3 plus 2 plus 7 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 7 plus 5. So these are, we are taking the days, right? So like that, if we calculate, we will get the number of days which are required to complete each of the task, right? So the path 1 has the longest duration, and that will be called as the critical path, right? So that is nothing but the critical path definition that we have actually seen. The path with the longest path duration is called as critical path. So you can have multiple critical paths in your process, and say if you have some slack time, you can actually go for the path 2, path 3 or path 4, so that you will get some you can entertain some delay, but in the critical path you cannot entertain any delay, right? So that is a major difference between the critical path and the slack paths, or the path with the lags, right? So say if you are taking this path E, task E is on the path, right? So say E, F, G, H are not on the critical path. They have some slack time. Okay, they have some slack time. So task E, if you see, is on the path that 1 day less than the critical path. That means that if task E get behind by 1 day, it will not affect the project schedule, right? So say if you take this task E, so task E, if you include task E, you can actually incorporate 1 day of delay. So that is fine, right? So this is nothing but the critical path and the slack time. Now who will actually decide upon the path? Project managers have to decide upon the path. So can he is it that he will always take the right path? No, he's also human being, so he can make mistakes and he will also learn from mistakes, right?
So this is the easiest way that we have actually discussed in the class. You have this Gantt chart here actually shown, right? You can click over here, go to the detailed Gantt. So you could see all the critical path here and all the slack task with the days associated with the slack. And now say sometimes you will not be able to see this detailed Gantt, so you have to go to the more views and then click on the detailed Gantt and you will get that, right? So this is another way, which is the most easiest way of doing things. So you can actually say if you want to change any slack time or something like that, you can go here, and if you want to change the number of the days, and you can click on the lag days and you can increase it and all those stuff. You could do that, right?
So now going back to the schedule which we have already done. So this is the Gantt chart which we have already created, right? So already created, and we have assigned the people and the days, and the predecessors are given. So all this information has been given. Now we need to identify, yes, this is the Gantt chart which we have, or this is the time schedule which we have. In that we want to identify the critical path by using the Microsoft project, right? So there are 2 ways for doing it. The first way is as simple as that. Go to this Gantt chart format. Okay, go to the Gantt chart format and click on the critical task. So when you click on the critical task, you will be able to see all those critical paths. So when you look at this, so this task comes as one of the tasks in the critical path. And now when you look at this comes as one of the things in your critical path. And then identify the materials, purchase materials, right? And then comes cut wood, build design, right? Then comes this one, add walls, add roof. This one is waterproof test. Okay, paint exterior. Then comes clean up the debris and inspect. So these are the critical path. These are the things which comes in the critical path. So once you have selected the critical path, then you will not be able to make any changes. Okay, so then it is not possible for you to make any changes, right? So this is nothing but the critical path. So if you take this off, the critical path will be gone. Now you can also calculate the slack time. Slack time is that there is certain things where you could actually consider as late task or slack times. So now it's not completed, that's why everything is showing late. So this is nothing but the different this is one way of actually identifying the critical path. Now there is another way. Another way is nothing but go to this view tab. So in the view tab you have something called highlight and active task. So now you are in the active task is actually displayed, right? So now what you could do is that you can actually click on that and go for the critical task. So here what happens is that only the critical tasks will be displayed, right? You will not be shown with any of the slack times. Okay, so now when you look at here, so you will have this filter, right? So in this, if you click on critical, so both what all are the things which has to be highlighted here, and then go to the filter and click on the critical. So this is how it is. So if you want to highlight, you can actually click on the highlight button and critical. So in the main task, whatever has to be the critical path, that will be actually shown. Now if you click on the filter and click on the critical, the path which is actually critical, what all are the tasks which comes in the critical will be only be shown, right? So the other one, it will be shown like everything, but the critical path task will be highlighted, right? So I actually showed you two different ways of finding the critical task. One is actually going to the Gantt chart and clicking on the critical path. This is one thing, and the another one is actually going to the view, and if you want to highlight, you can actually click on the highlight and click on the critical path. If you don't want, you can actually go back to the active task, right? So you can, or you can even go for no highlight. And now if you want to filter just the critical path items, you can actually go to the filter and click on the critical path. So these are the easiest ways that you could do. There are two different ways in order for you to identify the critical paths. So this is a short video, but it just told you about how to identify the critical path once you have done your whole of the Gantt chart. Okay, so once you have done and decided about your critical like the complete design, complete the product schedule, then you can actually highlight and identify what is your task, what is a critical path, and what is a slack time as well. So this is what it is. So hope you understood, and now you can actually try this out and make your hands dirty. Thank you so much.